Welcome to the Rethink Sales Show. My name is Derek Kelly. I am joined by Jim Shorkey. And Jim, I was thinking recently about my worst sales experience.
How you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet.
Let me tell you about it, and then you can react. So I remember we went to this timeshare meeting, okay? And what it was, hey, if you sit in this meeting for 2 or 3 hours, we'll give you a few nights of vacation. I thought, great. My wife and I, we just had a son. Sounds like a phenomenal idea. They go through this whole mathematical formula where, hey, how often do you vacation every year? And we didn't vacation that much at that time. So we said 1 week, and they go through the room and they'll say, okay, Jim, how much do you and Amy vacation? And they get this formula going where they show you like, hey, this makes it worthwhile. So we sat down with the salesperson and they said, this seems like it would be a good fit for you. And I thought, I don't really know. We don't vacation that much. And so we said, no, we'd like to politely decline. We're not really super interested. And they said, okay, let you talk to our manager. So they brought one more person out. And he said, hey, what are your reasons why you'd want to vacation more? And my wife said, hey, I'd like to vacation more so we have more time together. And I'd like to vacation more so our kids could have more experiences.
That's a great question, by the way.
Yeah,
that's a great question.
It's a really good question.
I like that question, yeah.
It's a really good question. And we just weren't sure we wanted to do it. And so I remember him asking me, hey, if your wife is interested in all these things, why are you saying no? Why are you not interested? And I said, it just doesn't, it was a decent price, probably $40,000, $50,000 for some vacation timeshare over time. And it just felt like a lot to maintain and upkeep. And his question to me was, if your wife is interested in this, why are you saying no? And I remember thinking in that moment, man, am I leading poorly? Am I a bad husband? What am I doing wrong?
Right.
And I remember stopping and thinking, I want to make a decision that's good for both of us, right? And he was like, vacation gets you time together. I try to make sure my wife and I spend time together every single week.
Exactly.
So vacation.
Every single day. Every single day. Really, right?
Yeah.
You can do that even with the kids. What's a babysitter cost you?
Yeah.
So you bring somebody in, you say, let's go for a walk. And so the kids are under really good care, custody, and control. And you go off your walk. And let's be careful, folks, that when we look to go do things outside of ourselves, you don't have to go outside yourself. You can do it within yourself. Amy and I, as an example, we play Scrabble every night, virtually. And last night we played, we ran on it. We didn't have much time. We only played one game. I lost, by the way. And it's just wonderful time together. And it's a half an hour to play a game, roughly. And we talk and tease and kid, but we're together.
Yeah, you're doing something together.
It doesn't take... Like I can go out, we do what we call a coffee celebration. We get our coffee, we go out, we sit in the sun, vitamin D, very good for me. I'm sitting there, the sun is, what was I doing when you showed up today?
You were sitting there in the sun, soaking it up.
Now Amy's not here, Amy's playing golf. So she's playing golf and we have our podcast today. But the bottom line is we can sit and drink a cup of coffee and enjoy each other's company and stay in tune with each other without buying a timeshare.
Going on.
So continue your thought. I interrupted.
Yeah, and so he was saying, hey, vacation will get you more time together. And I blew his mind where I was like, we try to do this as a lifestyle.
Thank you.
Not just as a once a month or once a year, twice a year get together. And so they kept bringing out the next person and the next. I was like, how many people are we going to talk through? Oh, are you sure you guys really want this? It won't be that nice of a stay if we give. They were really trying to talk me out of the free nights and more into the package.
Yeah.
And eventually I just said, hey, we've come here. We've done what you've asked. Can we get our paperwork and go? And he looked at me, and I'll never forget this. It got me emotional. He said, there are two types of people in this world, people that are open-minded and people that are closed-minded. And sir, you're the latter.
That's terrible. How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah.
Who made you the judge?
Yes.
And interestingly enough, in the Bible, it says, and I'm not a biblical scholar by any stretch, but it says, judge not lest ye be judged.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ said that.
Yes.
And it was the stoning of that lady, and they all ran.
Yeah.
Because they were all sinners. So, I mean, that's audacity. Okay, so continue. I don't like it.
And so eventually they somehow got us into a small package of something. But I ended up going home that night. We were in Florida somewhere. And I remember laying there that night thinking, I think we made the wrong choice. We said yes to something small because I think my wife felt pressured to say yes, right? And we said yes to something small. But then I did the math and I was like, actually, this ends up being like $20,000 or $30,000 over the next 5 years. I was like, that's a pretty big chunk for a vacation that we might use. And it was a company that maybe had 5 or 6 locations around the nation. So it wasn't like they didn't have locations everywhere. And that started to be the problem. And I remember looking into it. And if you wrote a letter to the state of Florida, because that's where we were, within 7 days you could get it canceled. And that was one of the best decisions I made in my life, was not getting us locked into this long-term thing that we really didn't know what it would look like. But I thought of your sales philosophy in that moment and thought of how you always want to meet people where they are. And I think those worst experiences remind me of somebody was watching one of our podcasts recently. They said, Jim, your sales philosophy is refreshing.
I don't want to do trickery. If you want to buy my car, let's rock and roll. If you don't, I'm so happy and grateful that you stopped in today. And by the way, if you know anybody looking for a car or needing some help with service or whatever the case may be, anything car related, please keep us in mind. It is America, last time I checked. And we have the freedom of choice. And Derek has that freedom of choice, and he shouldn't be belittled. He was belittled. The nerve to say that you're not closed-minded.
Right.
That's an awful thing to say to anybody.
Yes.
So I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
I've said this many times. You've heard me say this. Until the person's backstory, you can't judge. So he doesn't even know your backstory. He doesn't know why you're making the decisions you're making, doing what you're doing. He doesn't know. He doesn't know your financial situation. He doesn't know your debt to income ratio. He doesn't know the pressures that you're under because maybe there's going to be a layoff at work, or maybe you have some kind of a medical condition, or maybe one of your children do, or maybe your wife does. He doesn't know. And to have the audacity to tell you that, to put you into a segment of being closed-minded.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, that is total BS. Yeah. I'm not interested. If my people are doing that at the dealership, I don't like it. I'm not involved. I'm retired. And so I don't run it. I don't get involved. But if they're doing that and I find out about it, they're going to hear from Jim Shorkey today.
Yeah.
Say, stop the bull. Stop it. Stop the nonsense. I like saying that. Stop the nonsense. That's nonsense. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. And I literally, not knowing anything about what you were going to say today. Did I know anything about this timeshare thing?
No.
Nothing. I have no notes. I have no script. I don't know. I'm responding to you in a genuine, extemporaneous manner, and I'm just addressing what you said. And it sounds to me like trickery. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't want to do that. I'm not interested.
And I was reading a book recently that reminds me of just how refreshing our sales philosophy is. They were saying that we need to stop thinking about pitching and think more about sales as a conversation. They were saying a salesperson is a facilitator of next steps. And the role of the salesperson is really to figure out the buyers, the demand, and the supply. And if they meet, then there's a match. If they don't, then you kindly move someone on to the other place. We need to think sales more of a conversation and less of a pitch.
So explain to me what a conversation is.
We did it last podcast.
Explain to me, please, what a conversation is. Right now, we're live. Explain to me, tell me what a conversation is in your mind.
So a conversation is exactly what we had this morning. Hey, Derek, how are you? How's it going? Hey, Jess, how are you? How's it going?
Like your top. That's a conversation.
Yeah.
But I need you to go deeper.
Then you ask questions. Oh,
come on. I want you to go really deep.
Conversation entails a dialogue.
Nope. I want you to go deeper. At the end of the day, a conversation involves listening.
Yes.
That's a conversation. So you're talking, I'm listening. I'm not waiting. I'm not thinking about how I'm going to respond. I'm not thinking about what my strategy is. I'm listening, okay? And in that conversation, I listen with these two guys right here, correct? Well, what else do I listen with?
Your eyes.
My eyes, because the vast majority of communication is nonverbal. So I'm listening with my eyes, and I'm watching for different cues, how the arms are positioned, how the voice tonality, are they shaking their head up and down, or are they doing this? There's all kinds of cues that the person will give you. They can't help it. We communicate nonverbally. And so I'm listening with my eyes, and I'm listening with my ears. It's called active listening. So I'm present. I'm very present. And I'm not going to use trickery to bring you my way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to what you say, and what are your wants? What are your needs? And why are those important to you? And it may be at the end of the day that I don't have a solution for you. You want a white car for a whole lot of reasons that are valid. I don't have any white cars. I mean, I can't make a black car white. Now, maybe I can find you a white car. Isn't that refreshing? Let's see if we can find you a white car, not try to shove the black car down your throat using trickery. And by the way, I might say, I found you a white car and it's $10,000. Now, because the black car is in stock, I can save you $1,000 because we don't have to go through the journey of getting the car, paying somebody to go get the car. And of course, we're going to pay a few extra dollars to the guy where we're getting the car from and all that. So I would be willing to sell you the black car for $1,000 less than the white car. And you may say, you know what?
Yeah.
But that's active listening. But to tell, you say you want the white car and they say, what's wrong with you, Derek?
Yeah,
Why would you want a white car?
say,
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Don't you realize that if you're in the snow, nobody's going to be able to see you? What a dummy. You see what I'm saying? It's not my position to judge you. There's, who knows, maybe you want a white car because your dad always had white cars and it reminds you of your dad.
Yeah.
And I don't know that because I didn't ask. But it's an emotional issue for you. And so you really want a white car for whatever reason that would be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And that's what I love. People tell me as they listen to our podcast, and we're 80 plus episodes in now, the refrain I keep hearing is, wow, how you guys approach sales is refreshing. And that, I think, not that we're trying to be cutting edge and refreshing, I think we ultimately care about people.
And I care about people. I was talking to a person yesterday. I will not name names here, but I was talking to this young lady. And when we were all said and done, I said, do you mind if I say one more thing? And she said, what's that, Jim? I said, I love you. And I said, this is not a come on. I love you. I really do. And I want to help you. And I want to give you the best possible advice today. I really do love you. And so at the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, our number one, most important goal, to love the customer. Second number one goal of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group is to love our team. Because if we don't love our team, if we disrespect our team, if we use trickery, then they're not going to stay. And therefore, over time, there's not going to be anybody to love the customers. So we felt that loving the customer was the number one goal, but we also felt that loving the team was equally the number one goal. Now, that said, if you do number one really well, love the customer, and if you do number one really well, love the team, you get to be really successful.
Yeah.
And you sell a lot of stuff.
Right.
And you get to buy nice stuff with the money that you made.
And people trust you because you really do care.
I do care, yeah. In the philosophy of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, love the customer, love the team. And the third goal, almost number one, is to keep it very humble. And so we worked very hard on those three missions. And you can Google the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group and see the results of that back in 1998, 2 years after my dad died, was bankruptcy imminent. It was really bad. I wasn't going to make it. I wasn't going to survive. If you've ever read Think and Grow Rich, there are some very specific instructions in there that a lot of people miss, quite frankly. And I'm not going to get into that, but I've read Think and Grow Rich. I was in the hospital and with stroke, 3 brain bleeds, really bad, shoulda, coulda, woulda died. And I was coming around and I said to my family, I said, I am going to use Think and Grow Rich to fix this. And I am going to use Rethink You to fix this. Rethink You is basically a compilation of what I did for my part in building the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. I remember sitting with Chuck Bellina and Steve Gardner, and we sat and talked like we are right now. We documented everything that I did. So I knew what I did, but I wasn't really, I'm not a poet. I'm not a writer. I'm not an artist. I'm a worn out old car salesman. That's what I am. And so in order to capture this thing, I needed a guy like Chuck and I needed a guy like Steve to say, okay, let me write that down. Let me write that down. And so they did. And the initial thing, I don't know if you remember this or not, but the initial program that we developed was called Journey to Success or something like that.
Yeah, I remember it.
You guys developed Rethink You.
Yeah.
And the idea being that in order to get from A to B, you got to change your thinking. You have to rethink yourself.
Yes.
So if you used A thinking to get to A, in order to get to B, you got to use B thinking. And that's where it all came from. So we took the Journey to Success. You guys looked at it and modified it to a degree, and you did your thing. And I can remember looking at it and thinking, yeah, they got it. They nailed it. And so that's what Rethink You really is, the process that I use for my part in building the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. And I want to be very clear about one thing here. Success, people ask me all the time, what's the secret to success? What is the secret to success? The secret to success is the knowledge that success is a process. It's a process. The secret to unsuccess is the knowledge that unsuccess is a process. And you've heard me say this, Derek. Wealthy, lonely, you bought the wrong process. Wealthy, unhealthy, you bought the wrong process.
That's right.
You bought the wrong program.
Yeah.
And so I was in the hospital. I knew I was going to revert back to Think and Grow Rich. I bought a brand new book. And I wrote in front of that book, reading number 162, and I wrote underneath that 100% stroke recovery. And I decided at that moment I was going to beat this thing. Yes. And I went to work. And I did that. Yes. This is not something I'm making up. That is exactly what I did. I'm in the hospital. I'm on my back. I'm in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
It was very dire. And I said, I'm going to use this process called Think and Grow Rich to rebuild Jim Shorkey, just like I used that process called Think and Grow Rich to rebuild the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group from a place where I really messed up, right? And so that's what I did. And so I knew in my heart of hearts that if I did that I would overcome this thing. And I can remember I'm laying in the hospital bed. I'm in a lot of pain. And Dr. Rosellis, who was my surgeon, okay, he walks by, taps on the door, looks in. He didn't even come in the room. He just looked in and says, "Hey, how you doing, man?" I said, I'm doing good, Dr. Rosellis. I said, "No, I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question, Dr. Rosellis. What can I do to fix this thing?" He said, "Jim, you got to walk a lot." I said, "Okay, you got it." Guess how many, I told you this, I don't know if you remember. Guess how many steps I've walked for the past almost 2 years per day?
Around 14,000.
Yeah, you're right.
Pretty darn close.
14 steps. That's an average of 7 miles a day. And I think there's a lot of people in the audience today that think I'm full of crap, that think I didn't have a stroke. There's no way you could be doing, look at you, how, what do you mean you had a stroke? I did. And because I'm using Rethink You to rebuild Jim Shorkey in the same manner that I use to rebuild the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, or at least my part in it, here we are. Long answer to a short question, but stop the trickery. I don't want to use trickery. I'm just telling you the truth. And you have a right today as the audience to say, "Jim, you're full of crap." I'm okay with that. I truly am.
Yeah.
I really am. I'm okay with that. But this is what I'm doing. And if you want me to document it for you today, I can.
Yeah. And people could easily miss our intentions. I've seen people comment and say, "Oh, you guys are just waiting for the next check to roll in." And that's not our intention.
How much money have I made on this whole idea so far?
Nothing.
Zero. Listen, don't feel sorry for me. There's a reason why I'm doing this. When I was in really dire straits, I had great help. I had great mentors, Mr. Hamilton being the number one, and then joining the think tanks and getting help from those ladies and gentlemen. So I decided that if I took this knowledge to the grave with me, that I would be amongst the most selfish people in history. One of them is Bill Leader. Bill Leader is my closest friend. And I told him what I was going to do. And every time we get together, I say, "Bill, what did I tell you I was going to do?" He said, "You said you were going to teach." I said, "Yeah, I did. And here I am." So it's not about personal income here. It's not about me making a zillion $1 million. Although I really do, and I told you this morning, did I not? I think that's going to happen. Yeah. Because I think we're bringing great value to the world, per se. And I don't think I'm going to be able to stop it, but that's not why I'm doing it.
Thank you for I just wanted to have a conversation because I get a lot of comments saying, "Wow, your sales process is so refreshing." So I wanted to start with the angle of